Today is our final episode on our series about limiting thoughts. Let's dive right in. Hi, I'm Jessica Ballant, a physical therapist and Pilates teacher, and I want to bring science-based knowledge, empathy, courage, support, love, and hopefully some fun to the journeys we have with our bodies. There is hope and strength in your body, and my goal is to help you find it. Hi, welcome back to Meet Your Body. As always, I am thrilled to be talking to you today. I have had quite the busy day, and I'm sitting down later than usual to record for you because I found a little moment of time. And it's lovely that it's kind of dark out, and I have a candle, and it's nice to be kind of wrapping up the day with you. You've probably had a busy day too. I feel like we say that so much, and I don't actually want to say it. I want to get away from saying it because the day is just simply what I create it to be. It can be filled with a lot of things without me feeling busy in it. This is kind of this new thought process I'm starting to have around all of this because yes, it is true on paper. Some days are busier than others, and there's not a problem with that. It is the way life works. I want to be a little more flexible within that. I was thinking about it today, actually, when I was driving from one appointment with the kids, like straight to another appointment with the kids, that I just want to be a little more flexible with how I act within the busyness of the days. Because even though, yes, there will always be some days that are busier than others, life is going to stay as full as I make it. And with two kids where they are in school right now and continuing through with that, it's actually just going to get more full. We're going to have more activities. We're going to have people going different directions, more schedules that we need to kind of match between my husband and I and the kids. Like, that's not going to stop. And so how can I sit within that and not actually feel the chaos of it and instead just appreciate the fullness of it? That's not actually what this podcast is about today, but maybe we should do a whole episode just on that. But it's really just a thought that I had today. And all of that to say, I am very glad to be now sitting at home, done with the fullness of all of those things, talking to you. And today is our last episode in this series on limiting thoughts. And we're going to talk about something that's really important. And I feel like each of these has been important. So yes, I'm going to say that about each of them. And I'm not going to say any one is more important than another because each of them is going to be important to us at different stages or different phases of life. This one today, I feel like is important in that it's kind of this overarching idea that is always could be a through line if we let it. And it's the idea that there is a clear beginning and end to a healing or a fitness journey. So that is the limiting thought we're going to talk about today. That thought that there would be a clear beginning and then even more than that, a clear end or a clear kind of place where we would win or achieve a health or a fitness goal. And today we're going to discuss why that's actually a limiting thought. So first, we'll talk just a little bit about where that might come from and what it kind of means if you're wondering where I'm going with this. We are a culture, and I don't know whether it's the United States, the Western world, whether it's simply the universe and the way we're created. I don't know where it all comes from, but we definitely are taught from a young age that winning is what you want to do in everything, right? And there are some people naturally more competitive than others, but I mean, I can even see it in my very young kids. I mean, there are rewards given, and I'm not saying that's bad whatsoever, okay? But there are rewards given, there are places given and medals and all of these things. They get rewards for, being a superstar student of the day, and then they do these running things, and then they do readathons. I mean, there's always a winner, and it's very motivating. And so for the kids, it's very motivating. So we're kind of taught from a young age that there is a a winner, that that's the way life works a little bit, that we should be able to start something and then there's a clear outcome. And that does carry through life. I mean, we have to be graded on papers. We have to have measures of certain aspects, right? We have to have assessments that then show if we can move on to the next place. We have to show how we graduate from high school, or if we get into grad school, or if we get that promotion at work. There are certain things that absolutely kind of need that in order to assess our qualifications or assess our knowledge and those kind of things. But we tend to put that into everything else we do. And especially, I believe, as women, we do that because we simply feel like we need to do it all. Okay, right? We think that we need to be able to just do it all. And fitness falls into that. Okay, fitness falls into it, including, and I'm going to include in fitness all health and well-being. We see it as a competition. We see it as something we need to master. So we set goals about our weight, like very specific goals on what we want the scale to show. We set very specific goals about what size clothing we want to wear. We set very specific goals about what we want to look like when we look in the mirror. We set very specific goals around those things. Then we also sometimes will have goals put on us. Again, not bad. It happens sometimes if you have a surgery and you're working with physical therapists or even with your surgeon. There will be goals such as you need to be able to walk this many stairs before we'll release you from physical therapy. You need to be able to do this after a certain surgery, and you should do it in this amount of time. We're always kind of striving and reaching for certain goals when we're recovering from an injury. And then also we'll set long-term fitness goals for ourselves. And again, that's great. It can be very, very motivating. You set a goal about running your first 5K. Maybe you're a marathon runner. Maybe you're going on a trip with your family and you're going to hike a certain amount, or you're going to do a certain amount of steps per day, and that's your goal for yourself. I'm always setting kind of general goals for myself. Again, there's nothing wrong with that. And we know it can be extremely motivating. I encourage people to set goals. The problem happens in that with our constant thoughts around this, again, I have to weigh a certain amount, I have to lose a certain amount of weight, I have to fit into this, I have to do this, I'm going to do this many times a week, I'm going to work out. When or if we don't reach that goal, we feel like we failed. We feel like we started and we didn't reach the end goal that we set for ourselves. We didn't reach that winning point. We didn't reach the end of the journey, and so we failed. And so a lot of times we stop altogether. We don't start the race over again. We actually sometimes won't even start anything new again because we don't want to fail, and so we move on to something else. And I am absolutely here to say that that concept just doesn't work in the real world of health and fitness. I have something right behind me. I'm looking at it right now. It's on my wall, and it's an illustrated picture with a saying, and it says, "Healing is not linear." I will say it again. Healing is not linear. And I say it to clients all the time, and I remind myself all the time. Ups and downs and ups and downs and twists and turns. That's one thing to remember. That is how the healing and the fitness world works. That's how our bodies work. They do not work in a linear fashion. They work roundabout and all over the place. And yes, I hope as a physical therapist for my clients, I hope for myself, and I hope as a coach, I hope that there's kind of a trend, right? Like an upward trend as someone is improving. I want them to start here. And yes, I want them to get to this other point, this improvement point. But there are so many ups and downs along the way. So that's one thing to keep in mind. The ups and downs and the twists and the turns, they come. It's not a linear, clear journey. But the other thing to keep in mind is that end point that you sometimes set for yourself. That's the limiting thought, the end point, because a lot of times that point is the starting point for something else. on this journey of health and fitness and wellness and being a partner with our bodies and empowerment and strength, on that journey, there are forks in the road and there are turns to take, but there's no point that you stop and you say, I made it. This is it. I got here. I am done. I'm kicking up my feet and I don't have to do anything again because I made it to the end. Like there's one end point of life, just one. And at that point, you don't need to worry about doing anything after that. But that's the only end point of this journey. The rest of the things, you might set a goal and you will reach it. But then I encourage you to simply realize the next part of the journey begins. I want to give you a couple examples of how this works in the real world. So I saw a client recently, and I've seen many clients in the same boat. Had a surgery, a hysterectomy to be specific. I work with a lot of women who have had and will be having hysterectomies. So she had a hysterectomy and it's been almost a year and she's still in quite a bit of pain and feels limited and feels like she hasn't gotten back to where she was before. Okay, on paper, simply on paper, if you were to talk to her surgeon, the surgeon would say, well, I don't know why she isn't better. People recover in this amount of time. She should be fine. It should be done. Moving on. And that is the way this person feels about herself. Because we think there is, again, a very clear recipe, a very clear journey from having that surgery to when you should feel better. You can probably even Google it. How long does it take to recover from a hysterectomy? Okay, this amount of time, that's my end point. That's when I'll win. Got it. So you have that surgery and you don't get to that point in 3 months. And you start to feel bad. You start to feel like there's something wrong with yourself. You start to feel like you've done something wrong. You start to feel like you haven't healed, that something's going on. And sometimes the doctor listens, and a lot of times the doctor doesn't listen because they say, oh, you should be fine, right? So we've set ourselves already up for defeat. So when I work with someone like that, first off, I say, this is a good thing because we're starting now. We are starting the healing journey now. We're taking into account everything that came before your surgery because that's an individual story that isn't included in your prognosis all the time. But what was going on for you before surgery? What was happening beforehand? Let's take that into account. We're going to take into account how you feel now. And we are starting your healing process now. We're starting it now. This is a new beginning. And that's how this works many times, that you will be kind of on your journey. It hasn't gone the way either you thought or it hasn't gone the way you thought it would according to stories you read or again what the papers say. It doesn't look the way you thought it would. But that's okay. It doesn't mean you failed. It means we're going to start new. There's a new beginning we need to find. That journey was important. It taught you things. We're going to figure it out. And now you can start again. You can start new, maybe with the same goals, maybe with different goals. You're always adjusting as your life changes because that is what is always going to happen. Life is going to continue to change. Another good example of this is after having a baby. That's another thing where we have kind of this clear recipe on paper. It says, okay, you're going to do this during your pregnancy. Then you give birth, you rest for 6 weeks, then you can do whatever you want. Good luck, and they send you on your way. That is the story of just about every person on this planet and the instructions they get after giving birth. So that's how we see it. We see, okay, I see a beginning point. And then I see the end point. The end point is 6 weeks, and then I can do whatever I want after that. And I can 100% tell you that is not how it works most of the time. I learned, and many women learn, depending on what your kind of pregnancy and birth story was. For me, at least, personally, my journey basically started at 6 weeks after giving birth. I didn't get to say, oh, I won and here we go. I'm going to get just right back to where I was before. I started an entirely new journey with severe prolapse and what that meant. And that started me down that path. it was hand in hand. It went side by side with what my journey was going to be. So that's important to realize too. It wasn't a backward step. It's sometimes easy to think that we did fail. And there are times that I did think that, like, what did I do wrong? I'm broken. I failed. But it's really important to remember when the journey starts again, or when it takes a turn that you didn't expect, it doesn't mean you're going backwards. It simply means that the path split. Some people get to take the path to the right, and some people take the path to the left. Neither is right or wrong. Neither is better or worse. They all have different experiences. Okay? One goes one way, one goes another way. And then you just live and walk down that path that you're on. And sometimes you'll go back to the first path, and sometimes you'll take a different twist and a different turn. But the key is that you are not considering yourself a failure if you don't get exactly where you thought you were going to be by some kind of measurement that you decided was important, right? That you follow the path that you're on. And I think about this sometimes when things for me do take twists and turns and I'm not quite getting to that goal. Because again, I do think goals can be really important, and we need these measurements and we need some guidance, okay? We absolutely do. And I give that for my clients, and I give it for myself as well. I also have realized that along that path, there are so many ups and downs and rounds to go. So I keep the long-term goal in mind. But then what I do is I ask myself each day what I need that day to feel successful. Not what do I need today to reach a goal 2 months from now. Like, yes, I will make a plan for that. But even above that, if I'm in the midst of that twist and turn in the middle of it, I'll say, okay, you know what? I can't think about that goal right now because of X, Y, and Z. Because I just caught a cold. Or because now I'm thrown into this project at work and it's taking more time than I thought. Or I fell and I twisted my ankle. Whatever it is that has thrown you off in the middle of your plan. Realize, what can I do today? I don't have to feel bad about not reaching that because that time hasn't even come yet. I might still be on that path, or maybe this is this little path to the left that I'm going to take instead. But I can still ask myself, what can I do today to feel successful? What can I do today to feel good? What does my body need today? And I was thinking about that just the other day on a walk that I went on, because that's what I needed. I'm still recovering from this dog bite situation, and I feel so much better, but I definitely still have to be aware of it. And I realized that doesn't change my long-term plan, but it does change what I need to give myself today. So if it feels to you like things are on path B when you thought you were on A, or if it feels like you're in a little bit of a confusing place, or if it feels like maybe you did take 2 steps forward and now you've just taken a little bit of a step back, wherever you are, take yourself into that place of saying, okay, but what do I need today? What can I do today to feel successful on my own journey? What can I give myself right now? And then you wake up tomorrow and you ask yourself that same thing. And day by day, you just break it into those smaller segments of what do I need today? And then maybe once you get farther on that path, especially if it's a new path, once you get a little farther on, you'll say, okay, well, what do I need this week now? And then maybe even what do I need this month? What do I need this month to get to that goal that I have? Because I absolutely do want to run that 5K. And so I've gotten through some of these twists and turns. So now what do I need? Now that I'm here, don't compare yourself to the path you were on 2 months ago. Compare yourself to where you are right now. That's all that matters. Where are you right now? And what can you do to give yourself the best choices or the best outcomes right now? And then celebrate when you do get to your goal. Whether your goal is walking up a flight of stairs pain-free, or getting on and off the floor, running that 5K, or hiking that 14er, whatever it is your goal is, celebrate when you get there. and then realize this was a part of the journey, but not the end of it. This is a part of it. And so now, what does my body need today next? What do I want right now? What do I need next? What is my body telling me? And it's okay if it was different than yesterday, and it's okay if it's different than a month ago, but what can I do now? It would be great if life worked in really clear starts and stops, but most of the time it doesn't. It is ongoing. And so we want to find ways to celebrate and thrive within that. So if you do feel like path has taken a different turn, celebrate a new beginning, embrace it, and ask what you can do today on that new beginning. And if you have reached the end of a piece of your journey, celebrate that as well and say, great, what's next? What is next for me? And I'm going to celebrate it as that next new beginning. Remember, continue to approach yourself and your body in this journey with curiosity, with playfulness, with celebration, with honor for yourself, and walking with your body as a partner in this life. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much for joining me today on Meet Your Body. If you have a moment, please consider rating and reviewing this podcast as it helps us tremendously. For more resources and workouts, you can visit my website, jessicavallantpilates.com, or find me on YouTube or Instagram at Jessica Vallant Pilates.